Okay, the next item is a proposed, there's a public hearing and opportunity to comment on City Council Order 2017-21. It's actually a zoning amendment. And notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 5. The Quincy Planning Board will hold a public hearing on April 12, 2017, on or after, obviously 8:47 in the first floor Boards and Commissions Room, Quincy City Hall, 1305 Hancock Street, Quincy, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to give interested parties the opportunity to comment on Council Order 2017-21, proposing changes to the City of Quincy zoning ordinance Title 17, Section 2.0 districts, Subsection 2.1.1, General Section 4.0 dimensional regulations, Subsection 4.3.6 exceptions to yard regulations, Section 10.0 definition dwelling. The proposed amendment would replace the selected language as follows. In Section 2.0, Residence B, single family, two family, and three family. In Section 4, 2, Residence B district and Residence B district, no side yard shall be less than 15 feet. In Section 10, add three-family dwelling means a building designed for occupancy as a residence for three families, each occupying a single dwelling unit. Okay, it's a public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Chris Pappas. I live at 146 Huckins Avenue in Quincy. I've been here before the board in the past, and I had plans for Residence B, which were approved. And I think this board does a very, very thorough job in vetting any of the plans that come before this board. And I do not see any reason as to why the ordinance would need to be changed. I mean, the ordinance would come about and change Residence B to be only up to three families. Like I said, the density is always considered. The plan as it looks, whether it fits the neighborhood or not, all of those things are definitely considered by this board. And I would be, as a private citizen, I would be against having this ordinance go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on the proposed zoning change?
Thank you. John Rutherford, 62 Ramall Road. I sort of agree with the previous person. We definitely need to look. I've stood up here many times saying, like, there's something wrong with the zoning code, there's something wrong with the zoning. I feel there's something wrong with business C zoning, with that little paragraph that we got afterwards that says, you know, 500 feet per dwelling unit. There needs to be things that say, like, you can't go more than 50% more of what's already there, you know, or, you know, something. This doesn't really make any sense, because what if a property has an acre compared to a property that has only 5,000 square feet? The one that has the 40,000 square feet, they should be able to develop more units, you know? And then if you had a, you know, a 2-unit that expands to maybe a 3-unit, that would be like a 50% thing. I mean, our zoning thing really needs to be changed and overhaul the whole thing, not just one piece at a time. The moratorium's a different thing. You know, if you want to do a moratorium, that's, you know, up to the board, but...
That's the next item, John.
Okay, but I mean, I don't even understand. I looked at Council Palmucci's things, the table of dimensions, you know, it says like Y, some things say PB, I think PB means planning board, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, my question would be this, let's say you do pass this change. Does the zoning board still have the right to grant the variance to allow someone to do something?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, it's kind of like you're basically changing the rules for everybody and making it more restrictive on mom and pop who have owned multifamilies their whole lives in Quincy, and you're letting people come in and doing whatever they want in Business C, and like, you know, the rule I would like to see is absolutely no development in industrial zone. Industrial zones were not meant to have any development. And so just say, no, you cannot develop in an industrial zone ever. You can't even ask for a variance because it's an industrial zone. Like that.
You're talking no residential.
No residential and industrial. Like, we don't even have anything in the zoning that says what the residential requirements are for industrial.
It isn't allowed.
Because, well, we're doing it now.
Well,
We've been giving
The
variances.
general laws of the Commonwealth provide an opportunity for anybody to seek a variance or a special permit.
No, but I'm saying that this board, I kind of feel that the city councilors, I heard Councilor DeBoner say at the last meeting that this is an election year and it's a lot of posturing and stuff and whatever. And the bottom line is that it all needs to be overlooked. There's, you know, business B is just one of many different zoning things. To say that, you know, if you look at how many properties are in business B, not business B, I mean residential B, there is a lot, and it's spread out, but some areas are more dense than other areas. So let's say if you did say yes to this tonight, would that take effect?
No, the council's the only one, we only have a recommendation in this process. The council's the only one that can approve or disapprove a zoning change.
Oh, okay, so this is
With or without a planning board recommendation.
So they don't even need your recommendation?
Well, we're advisory, it's written into the state law.
And it's not binding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I guess I would really like to know how you guys feel about this. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Scott, you want to speak?
I have a question.
All right, Member Barrett.
Perhaps I'm slow on the uptake, but I don't understand what the benefit of this that's been articulated. So if somebody could explain to me what the argument is to vote yes on this, I'd appreciate it.
Well, unfortunately, the author isn't here, so.
And I feel like it puts us in a weird position
It does.
to have to say whether we approve or something or not when it's just changes to a very large piece of legislation and there's no
We have
no
to give a
background.
recommendation?
I'm sorry?
We don't have to give a recommendation, right?
The council can await a recommendation from the board, failure for the board to act, and I can't remember the number of days. I want to say, I think it's 20 from the date of the public hearing. Then they can move forward. If indeed it's 20 days, if that has not expired, then they can't. But whether we make a positive or a negative recommendation, they can move forward.
I mean, I feel like there's little desire to really get our approval or recommendation if nobody's here advocating for or against it to us.
I agree with your comments about what are we voting. All we're giving is
All right, well,
a short sheet of what's going to be inserted into the current language.
let me close the public hearing, okay, and then, because I think staff can shed some light on
Yeah, I have it in the business
the
item.
recommendation. So I'd ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second? Discussion, all those in favor? Aye, okay. Mr. Stevens.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, planning board members. So it would appear the attempt on this zoning amendment would be to limit multifamily to 3-family units. It also would appear that there's an attempt to try to increase setbacks, you know, but as the board has probably seen, that a lot of our cases require dimensional relief. So you know, this was an interesting one when it came through. And thankfully I've been with the city long enough to remember the last moratorium that was actually implemented was back in 2007. And at that time, the city had hired, or the planning department had hired a urban design firm, Goody Clancy Associates. And I believe in the last meeting, you all received a copy of this Residence B design study. In addition to that, that was dated January 2008. In addition, you should have also received a spreadsheet identifying the 27 Res B projects this board's approved since this report. And we also put together different graphs on some of the details of those projects. You know, really quick sitting here, you know, those 27 Res B projects, 4 of them, including 57 Quincy Short Drive tonight, were greater than 10 units. So if there was an argument that it's super high density on Res B. You know, there's a few here, 4 of them out of 27 in the last 10 years. But that means there was 23 that was all under 10 units. So I think the other one you saw tonight was Intervale Street. And I believe my comments was that one started at 7 units. And because that was internal, we were able to work with that developer prior to you guys seeing anything, or prior to this body seeing anything, to try to fit that project into that neighborhood a little bit better, you know, dealing with roof line. And that's what a lot of this report does. I'm not sure that this board ever formally adopted these Res B guidelines at the time. It is something that I use, and I think still has value. In fact, there was a series of zoning recommendations that the Goody Clancy folks had recommended. I believe it was the end of the city council session, so none of those in 2008, 2009 were ever implemented. However, Chairman Mead, I know you were part of the zoning task force in 2011.
I've been in several of them.
Yes. All of those recommendations were actually incorporated in the recodification of the city zoning code. So once I started sifting through a lot of this information, I felt that as a planner in the department and as a board, you know, charged with reviewing these cases, I feel as though we have those tools already, you know, in our tool belt to deal with, let's face it, redevelopment. And, you know, to jump ahead on the second more public hearing, which is the moratorium, this board also was part of the review of the Quincy Housing Production Plan. And I jumped into this, and there's one number in here that I've come across it before, but I knew this was the most recent number. 82% of Quincy's housing stock was built prior to 1978. Now, 1978 is a big year because prior to 1978, you could use things such as lead paint or asbestos in housing. So that was really a demarcation point in the types of housing stock that not only Quincy, but throughout the state. So 82% of our housing stock is built prior to 1978. I believe any city, any urban area should always encourage you know, the demolition of an existing house that has not been kept up, that maybe contains hazardous materials. I always think they should promote demolition and redevelopment of a new development that fits into the character of that neighborhood. So as it comes around to the moratorium, I believe we should not, you know, enact the moratorium. I think that could be harmful to the residential development that's occurring in the city, you know, from one end to the other. And as far as the changes to the Res B, I believe the tools were already in place, and it sort of, I think what Chairman Mead mentioned is maybe there's a bigger zoning question that needs to be asked, and not this sort of spot zeroing in on Res B. So that's up for the council, I think, to tackle that.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll come back to that in the business meeting.